In this video, we're going to discuss the onboarding workflow features in Ruckus 1. Utilizing these features, administrators can tailor an onboarding workflow to meet the requirements of the network. Onboarding workflows allow us to customize user interactions, determine which method is used to onboard a device, as well as query users for additional information. Let's get started with creating an onboarding workflow by going to Network Control, Service Catalog. Scroll down in the Service Catalog list and choose Add on Workflow. Start by giving the workflow a name and optionally a description, and then choose Next. This will put us in the active workflow design view where we can start to build our workflow. Let's start by clicking Configure either here or in the top right. That brings us to the workflow designer, and we can start building our onboarding workflow here. Before I jump into that, let's go ahead and look at the portal look and feel. So the portal design page is where we can upload logos, we can change the text styles of the information that we're putting on these portals, and we can also preview that real time across different devices. We can also click on the Components tab on the top right to specify what's actually displayed on this page. So if we didn't actually want a logo, we wanted to turn off the powered by, or if we wanted to include the Wi-Fi 4EU snippet, we could absolutely do that here and specify our UUID for Wi-Fi 4EU. I don't actually want to do that for this portal. I'm going to turn that back off, but it is here, so you can add that to your portal. I'm going to go ahead and click X. We're going to have the portal look kind of default for what we're doing. Let's start building the workflow by clicking on the plus in the middle here. We can see our actions library slides out with 3 different areas. We can do user interaction, device onboarding, which specifies how the device is going to be authenticated, either using DPSK, MAC registration, or certificate-based. And then there's an operational form that we can actually utilize to get more information from users using this workflow. We're going to start with acceptable use policy. You can see once I've selected that, we are able to edit that directly here within our UI. I'm going to change the account name defaults here to Acme Co. to make this look like a fake company, but you can update the message here. So this is what they're going to have to agree to once they try to get into the network as a first step here. We've also got policy content. So right now this is a typable form, but you can also upload a file for this. This is for the terms and conditions document. I'm going to go ahead and upload a file. And you can see we've got our terms and conditions here. So I could go ahead and add this step, or I can preview it. And when I preview it, you can see the things that I've typed here that I'm going to agree to these terms and conditions. And this is a link to that PDF file that I uploaded. So I don't want to do anything here to further test this out, but you can see we've got a next button and a back button. I'm going to close this. I'm going to go ahead and add this step. With the first step defined, we select it and we've got some additional options. We can add another step, or if we click on the 3 dots, we can edit, view, or delete this existing step. I want to go ahead and add another step, so I'm going to click the plus off of this particular use policy, and I'm going to go ahead and select an onboarding option for DPSK. So I'm going to choose DPSK here. And this is where we have to have some other things set up in the back end. So since we're doing DPSK, we do actually need to have an identity group already set up and linked to a DPSK network, which I do have here. So I'm using DPSK 3. We have other videos that explain how to set up DPSK services. So then I could additionally choose a specific identity, but in this case, I am not going to define an identity as part of this workflow, but you can see that we do have a network that is using this identity group called DPSK3 example. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Add Step here. We now have 2 steps in this workflow defined, and if we hover over the details, we can see our identity group and DPSK3 service that we're using for this DPSK step. And again, if you select this particular step, you've got the 3 dots and you can add another step. And if we wanted to actually add a step in the middle between these two, we could go back to acceptable use policy and click on the plus here. But let's add a 3rd step. We want to obtain some information from the users as they onboard. So we're going to click on the plus once again, and we're going to go down under operational and choose display a form. For this form, you see we do have a title and intro text that can be optionally turned on or off. I'm going to turn off the larger intro text and just for the title put, please provide the following. And we're going to start with username. I am going to update the label here to user's name, and then we're going to add another field. Let's say email address, and we can specify from the dropdown all the different things that we could require. We're going to choose email address from that, but we could add additional fields, and we can preview this to see how it's going to come up. So a user's name and email address are the fields, and it just says please provide the following. I'm good with that, and I'm going to go ahead and add that as kind of the final step. We now have 3 steps in the workflow. We start where the play button is located for the acceptable use policy, and we end with the check mark on the display a form. Let's go ahead and click close on the workflow designer, and you can see that we're taken back to our user onboarding test overall workflow, but we can see that we are in draft mode. So we could go back in and make some additional configurations, or we can go ahead and publish. Let's go ahead and do that. Now that we've published our workflow, we can see that we've got an enrollment URL that we can utilize. So we could click on this URL and we could launch this workflow, or we could copy this URL and put it into a QR code for folks to scan to get into the network. I'm going to go ahead and just click on the URL itself so we can walk through the portal. You can see we are set to our terms and conditions for Acme Co. I can click agree to this. I'm going to go ahead and open this in a new tab just so we can see it did take us to the Acme Co. Wi-Fi terms and conditions document that I uploaded. And I can then click start. It's asking me for that user's name. I'm just going to say Jesse. And then I'm going to put my email address here at comscope.com. And then click continue. So from here, we get our connect to the network prompt, right? So again, this was a DPSK3 network. I do have an SSID called DPSK3 example. I do have that DPSK password here that I could copy. So on my machine, I could actually just go find this network and use this passcode to connect in, or I could click this or have a device scan this QR code to join into the network. I'm going to go ahead and join the network, and then we'll take a look at the identity. I was able to take a picture of that final QR code from my phone, and it automatically logged me into that DPSK3 network. Let's take a look over at the identity list and see the device. So we can see that we've got an identity here. This is what we specified in that step on the workflow. I have my name and my email address. You can see the identity group that it was connected to. And if we select that specific identity, we can get a little more information. If we click over on the devices tab, we can see the actual device that I connected to. We can see the MAC, the IP, which AP we're connected to, how long we've been connected. And if we click over on the DPSK passphrases, we can see the specific passphrase that I used or that my device used when I scanned that QR code to get onto the network. So from here, we can do some additional things. You know, this is identity management at this point, but we could edit the passphrase, we could change the devices, revoke it, unrevoke it, or we could just block this identity. Again, so we've set this workflow up so that a user can just simply scan that enrollment QR code and start the enrollment process. So again, we could go back and we could change this. We could add a different step or ask for different information, and it would be fulfilled into this identity. So that's all we had for this one. Hopefully that gives you a good understanding of how to utilize the workflows in Ruckus One, and we look forward to catching you in the next video.